Okay, welcome back. I'm dressed apart, the apartment looks lovely, and I have my Coke Zero in my cup. Let's get started. Okay, what is actually the best way to get rich in your 20s? Honestly speaking, there are so many things that you can try, do, and get rich in that it's super hard to just pinpoint to one thing. But if you ask me, there are two things which I see as a super great way to get rich, and then I will also go into the topic of which one you should do first. Look, nowadays, I think one thing is clear, you need to have a personal brand. A personal brand could also be becoming an influencer, right? I am in the influencer space, I know a lot of influencers, I know the game to the T. Because an influencer and a personal brand is basically the same thing. The only main difference is that an influencer actually sells the products and the services of a different company, right? They promote, let's say Coca-Cola, they promote, let's say Mercedes-Benz or whatever. They promote a different product than theirs oftentimes, and a personal brand usually promotes their own services and products such as coachings, courses, and everything else. And so both, I think, are very good ways of making money. You need to somehow leverage yourself in the social media space, okay? That's the first one. The second one is some form of a management company. Now, a management company could be trading, right? You manage other traders, or you manage influencers, or you manage OnlyFans girls from, if you want to. I would keep it somewhere in the social media space, just because you're not limited to the location, you're not limited to time, and you're not limited to resources. When you manage social media brands, I mean, the amount of accounts in a certain country, it's almost unlimited, right? You can manage so many social media accounts and get rich off of it. It's stupid, it's insane. And so those are the two proper ways where I see that you could get rich in your 20s. And so I know that people ask themselves, okay, Mike, nice, but which one should I start first? I mean, if I start with my personal brand, I have nothing to offer. I don't have any experience. I don't have any business that I can say, hey, look, I built this, and that. Buy my coaching, I'll teach you how to do it. And then I build, a management team to actually teach them how to do it. On the flip side, if you start a business, you're starting from zero. You don't need to find new clients, new customers, somehow find yourself on how to build an agency and whatnot. And so both are super complicated. I can speak for myself where I first started with influencing. I first made influencer posts. I was promoting brands, especially in the fitness scene. And then I wasn't too big. I had like 50K followers at my all-time peak before I was hacked. And then afterwards, or almost at the same time, I built my agency. And I can just talk for myself where I'm saying that having a business as your backbone is so much more comfortable than having your own personal brand. Because when you are tired, when you are exhausted, when you don't feel like working for a day, when you don't feel like, recording, doing content, you can actually just fuck off. You can actually go on vacation. You can actually not do anything, and it's totally okay. Because with a personal brand, it's personal. With influencing, it's personal. Everything is tied to you, yourself, your face, your energy levels, the way you act, speak, talk, and behave. And so you are restricted in how you can live your life. Whereas if you actually build a company, you are not restricted, but it's a bit more complicated because you actually have to build structure and a team behind it. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to have both things at a certain level where you make enough money that it doesn't really matter which one takes off and which one doesn't take off, right? But eventually you want to have your company at such a level where you can operate on its own and you have enough time to actually do content such as I am, actually enough time to build yourself up as a personal brand, to build yourself up as an influencer, and the company still generates profit and gives you your salary. And then you basically do this content creation job, this personal brand as a second backbone to build a different company off of it, and then eventually maybe sell one of those or actually just go into the background and fuck off and just live your life, right? That's how you want to do it. That's also what I am approaching to do. That is also one of my goals. I don't see myself working 24 hours every single day until I'm 40. I don't see myself creating content 24 hours every single day just in order to build a personal brand, to sell coachings and courses. I don't see myself doing that. But I know it's a very important part of the social media game and landscape, and also on how you can actually afford and make a living. And the good thing is now, if you are young and you don't have anybody depending on you, you can actually just do whatever the fuck you want to do. You can be posting every single day, 5 times a day, just trying to figure something out because you have support from your parents and everybody else. Whereas if you're 30 and you have a kid and a family, you need to try it out with a bit more gabagool. You know what I mean? Like with a bit more oomph. Like you cannot just go and take risks how you want because you have people depending off of you, right? And so what I would say is, if you're in your 20s, I would try to start a fucking business. I would really go all in and just try to sell services to other people because you have nothing to lose. You have no risk behind it. Whereas if you're older, let's say 25, 30 upwards, and you have people depending off of you, I would actually try with personal branding and influencer. Why? Because the amount of capital that you need to invest into a personal brand, like with social media videos, with a camera, with a cell phone, it's much smaller than actually investing into a business. First, trying to figure out how to sell to clients, investing time into, learning about your competitors, going to sale, building up pitch decks and strategies, going on phone calls, this and that. It's easier to just record yourself, put yourself out there, and actually try to gain a following and a community without all the business things behind it, right? Even though when you're older, you have more experience in the work field, in the business field, you might say it makes more sense as a 30-year-old to start a business. Yes, in that regard, yes, but I see it from a different angle. I see it from, you don't have that much time, you don't have that much opportunities, you don't have that much energy as well. I mean, fucking hell, on a Saturday, you could technically record 10 videos, edit them all on Sunday, and you have everything to post for the next 2 weeks, right? You can do anything over the weekend. You can build your personal brand over the weekend, but you cannot build a company, an agency, with only 2 days in a week. You would need to be working every single night, in lunchtimes and in the mornings as well. It won't work if you have a family, if you have so many jobs on the side, and you have so many people depending on you. So I want to give you a bit of a real talk. Regardless of what you start first with though, always start with some kind of end goal in mind, right? Think of, do you want to do this personal branding for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years? If so, pick your niche and your topic very precisely. Of course, try and start and see how the community reacts to it, but you should be doing something or talking about topics which you actually like talking about. If you just do fitness because you think it's going to be a hype, but you don't actually enjoy going to the gym, like fucking hell, I like going to the gym. I would go to the gym 3 times a day if I could, right? I fucking love going to the gym. But you should be doing something which you absolutely would do any day of the week anyway, right? Or if it's maybe your main job and you're doing your main job, then do that. And if you're building a company, if you're building an agency, think if you want to do that agency for the next 5 to 10, 20 years, or if you want to sell it down the line. Because there's a different way of actually, onboarding clients, actually trying to get a structure. If you're just trying to make money, if you just want to make quick money, which I had my first agency, it was just all about making quick money. Man, I didn't give a fuck about proper invoicing. I didn't give a fuck about taxes. I didn't give a fuck about structure, hiring people, all of that nonsense. Man, you could fuck that shit. I was just about like, let me sell, I want to sell, I want to get new clients, I want to get my money, I want to go on vacation. That was my only goal, and I was good at it. It worked eventually afterwards. It worked eventually. And then after some time, I was like, okay, I like this, but I don't want to do this for the next 15 to 20 years. So let me try and build a team behind it. Let me try and invest some of the money that I've actually earned into hiring people who can do the job for me, who can do those meetings for me, so I have more free time, so I can go to the gym twice a day, for example, right? And so that is what I then eventually drifted and transformed into. And then the next step, it might be you want to sell your company. It might be, as for me, for example, I want to go more into content creation. But I can see myself doing this over the next 10 to 20 years, right? And so always think that before you actually start something. So those are my 2 cents to this topic on how you can actually get rich in your 20s. I really believe that when you're young, you should try and just get some sales, build a company, and then eventually drift into personal branding. Because right now, honestly speaking, it's so much more easier for me to just record, try and build a personal brand, come up with ideas, because I don't have any pressure on my back to actually make a living, right? I know, okay, for the next months and years, I'm good. Like I can take my time with content creation, I can think of topics. Of course, I need to work in my agency, I'm still working a lot. But at the same time, I don't have that specific pressure. And that's just the way that I did it. I would recommend it to anybody else. If you have a better way, that's all good. Do your way. That's just what I would recommend or what I have done in the past. I'm gonna finish my Coca-Cola, get back to work, and I wish you a nice one.